meeting of the Starkville Board of Alderman will now come to order.
Great, thank you.
Please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, after which Alderman Vaughn would like to yield to Pastor Erender to lead us in a word of prayer, and we will observe a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please join me in the word of prayer? Father, it is with humility that we come before you tonight, asking God your blessing on these proceedings, asking your wisdom upon these who are given the privilege and the responsibility and the task of leading our city. Father, as we continue this week in honor and memory and celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King, God, we pray that you would continue to help us live out his legacy and promote peace and unity in our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. You have before you a copy of the written agenda. There is one proposed change that's written into your agenda, is that the discussion regarding the moratorium is left off the agenda in error. The change was made after the deadline, so we'll need to add a table without objection. That matter is listed in italics as board business item B. Is there any objection to adding that item? Any objection? Any objection? Saying none, that item has been added. Are there any objections, or are there any further revisions to the agenda? Any further proposed revisions to the agenda? Any further proposed revisions? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda is revised is in order.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve the agenda is revised. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes.
Mayor, is Alderman Maynard?
Alderman
telephone?
Maynard is not joining us tonight, and he is not on telephone.
Okay, thank you.
I think we had it listed on the agenda, so thank you for clarification. The first matter on the agenda is a consideration of the minutes of the December 20th, 2016 meeting.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Alderman Nguyen to approve of the minutes of the December 20th, 2016 meeting of the Mayor and Board of Alderman, City of Starkville, Mississippi, incorporating any and all changes recommended by the city attorney, otherwise as presented. Alderman Nguyen, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Nguyen, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, I do not.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
By a vote of 5 in favor, 1 against, motion clearly passes. Next, we'll move to announcements and comments by the mayor and members of the board. I have no comments this evening. Are there any announcements and comments by the members of the board? Alderman Carter.
I was going to say, it was a wonderful program yesterday for the Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and the mayor, you did a phenomenal job of representing us as a city. And we were remiss to say this is also Pastor Lawrence and Carpenter Day by proclamation, so we need to announce that publicly. It was a wonderful service, and it's focused on faith, hope, and love. So thank you. Thank you for what you did.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, may I recognize?
You may.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, just want to make a comment for the record on behalf of my constituents. I'm not seeking any board action, and hopefully I'll get reelected. And when I do, I will bring this matter back to the table at the beginning of the new administration with the next mayor and board of aldermen. And what is concerning, again, this is just for the record, I received the proposed insert from the director of the Sanitation Environmental Services Department via email on Friday, January 13, 2017, approximately about 4:15 p.m. And that insert basically contains information and notification as to the garbage pickup days for holiday visitation. The matter of concern to my constituents are the non-inclusiveness of the pickup days for some holidays, particularly the 2017 holiday schedule does not include pickup dates after holidays for the Tuesday and Friday routes for the Good Friday, the Veterans Day, and the Thanksgiving holiday and the Christmas holiday. It would be appeasing and a good compromise if the 2017 holiday schedule is amended for sanitation pickup, at least for the Thanksgiving holiday and the Christmas holidays. Those are some very major holidays. Once a week pickup is not going to suffice for the Thanksgiving holiday and the Christmas holiday. The comments from the other side has been that these employees need to have some time off with their families. Certainly that is well taken, but at the same time, we do have other public service and safety employees who work during these time periods, such as fire and police. So as we move forward with this next year, this is going to be a very top goal and priority of mine, and we might as well get ready for it and get used to it, because we got to have a pickup schedule that's going to be inclusive for all of the homeowners, taxpayers, and citizens who have garbage pickup for the Tuesday and Friday routes. And certainly, I'm not speaking against those on the routes for Monday and Thursday, and they should be picked up. I'm in agreement with that. And I do represent constituents that do have pickup for garbage on Mondays and Thursday, but I'm talking about inclusiveness for Tuesday and Friday. Even with the Good Friday, the pickup the next day is for the Monday route. The Veterans Day, I think, this year is on a Friday, and it's only provided for the Monday route. And then the Thanksgiving and the Christmas. So if I can have the attention on the other end of the table, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it while I have the floor, and that's what the rules require. There's some commotion and noise down there, but I just hear a little disturbance when I'm speaking here. But I'm not asking for any board action tonight. I just want to put that out there because, this doesn't come up until the next administration, and we've dealt with this before. And the reason I'm bringing this up tonight because it is included in the mail out as an insert going to the electric bills with the Starkville Utility Department. So I'm going to continue to fight for inclusiveness for everybody. All these citizens are taxpayers. The gentleman from the Starkville Dispatch just wrote an article in the paper the other day about how cable rates going up, how the rates going up with Atmos Energy, taxes going up, everything going up. So with everything going up, everybody has a right to be apprised of all services. They have a right to have the benefit of all services. So with that being said, it's important that we come up with a plan that's going to benefit everybody. And Mr. Reporter, you did a great job on bringing that. They talk about Atmos Energy. Well, it's $1.58 here. Like with these tax increases, just with the dollar, with all these dollars and $2 keep adding up, and a lot of people on fixed income, they're senior citizens, they're barely making it, and so when they're barely making it, we need to provide all the services that we can, and I'm here to represent my constituents. I'm sure everybody is here to do the same thing, but we got to at least having a twice a week pickup for the Thanksgiving, Christmas holidays. Some may frown on it, but this issue is not going to go away. This issue is not going to go away. I may get voted down, but when this next administration comes, I hope that my taxpayers see fit to send me back. If they do, it's going to be a top priority. We're going to talk about this from day one. The first Tuesday of July of 2017, I'm going to offer a motion to seek to amend this schedule. I may get voted down 6-1, but one thing for sure, I'm going to try. I'm going to try. So, Mr. Mayor, the only reason I brought this up tonight, Mr. Mayor, and I didn't mean to take up this amount of time, but Mr. Mayor and Board, the only reason I brought this up tonight is because this matter is going out in these flyers, and I want my constituents to know before they get them that that they have heard from me. So, if we had not got this on Friday, then I wouldn't have had to speak to this. So, this is all I got to say tonight, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. I got one other question I'm going to have tonight. I'm going to be quiet. But let me tell you, so the preparer of this matter can get ready for this. I got a couple of questions for the utilities director before he gets up here, so he'll already prepare this in his presentation. I'll be quiet for the rest of the night, but I want to know, number one, is why are we having this cap loan presented to us 6 months before the end of the term? Why and how are we going to pay for this $1 million? Is that going to increase the rates? And I also want to know, what effect would this have on this loan we already have outstanding on this loan we had from last year? And also, Mr. Mayor, I want to know, are we definite that this is not going to require a rate increase, because the notice provision there states that if we default, it can affect our sales tax. They can intercept our sales tax and also our homestead exemption revenue. So I just want to make sure that we do that, because the money is tight, taxes are high. Every year we get hit with all these tax burdens. We get to say, well, it's not going to cost, it's not going to affect rates. But I want to get this on the record. They're talking about a $1 million cap loan before the end of this term. Now, the improvements, I'm sure they're needed. They're sure they're good. I'm sure they're going to come down here and tell me, yeah, Vice Mayor, everything's good. But I'm going to get this on the record tonight. A $1 million loan before the end of this term. You want me to vote for it? I want to hear the explanation. I probably will vote for it, but I think and Mr. Mayor, that's all I got to say. But those are two important issues. I promise I didn't mean to take up this time. But Mr. Kemp, when you and Ms. Benson come down, if y'all would just get straight to the point, at least for the Vice Mayor, answer those two questions. If I'm convinced, I'll vote for it. It's probably pass anyway, but I'll make sure before I vote for a $1 million loan tonight, and I only got 6 months left on this term, I want to be convinced. Mr. Mayor, I'm through talking. Thank you.
Any further comments from the members of the board? Any further comments? Any further comments? Seeing none, we'll move to citizen comments. At this time, any citizen wishing to make comments may do so by coming forward, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Good evening to the mayor and board. My name is Alvin Turner, Ward 7. I'd like to recognize the mayor and the board, recognize Vice Mayor Perkins. Welcome.
Thank you, Al.
I recognize the president of the NACP, Mr. Taylor, Legal Redress, President Turner. Citizens have a few nervousness about the old 82 and old 25 and the new 25 are intersections that adjoin Poorhouse Road and Longview. We had a tragedy with Mr. Johnny Bush, and we had a real nervousness when Judge Carpenter got hit at these intersections. Maybe we need to let AMDOT look at, see do we have any blind spots that people overlook each other on stretch of highway. We also have a situation on Wood Street. Seems like that they have turned into a drag strip. We have people pulling into housing, McDowell Street. We just don't want nobody to get hit. And it's from Wood Street to River Street, that small opening. If you running fast over 25 miles an hour, it's hard to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Are there any further citizen comments?
Mr. Mayor, may I speak?
You may.
Chief, come on in. These streets over McCon Acres, McDowell, and Wood, aren't they? Watch yourself.
Sir?
These two streets over in McCon Acres, are McDowell and Wood Street. Those not no long stretches of it.
No, sir. McDowell Street
It's a
is,
short street.
yeah, it's a short street that goes around inside
Comes
the
around,
loop there.
Inside the loop.
And Wood,
Just a stretch right there.
Wood runs from, that's
From Jackson.
Louisville Street,
Right.
yeah, all the way down to Jackson Street.
Okay, we'll look at that.
We have an officer live right there Police patrol car is
at
right
the
there.
end- Right there at the end of
Mhm.
Jackson Street, yeah.
Well, no, from Louisville Street.
Right.
That's not really right there.
Okay, we'll look at it. Thank you, Chief.
Are there any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Seeing none, we'll move to public appearances. We have one public appearance this evening by Yolanda Walker.
Hello, my name is Yolanda Walker, and I wanted to see, can I get this in an executive session because there might be a potential lawsuit against the city?
All right, Ms. Walker has asked for the city to consider hearing her comments in executive session, because are you threatening litigation against the city?
Yes.
Because she, is threatening to bring a cause of action against the city. Do I hear a motion to go into closed session to determine whether there is need for an executive session? So moved. Motion has been made by Alderman Little to go into closed session to determine whether there is need for an executive session. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits? No, sir. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. At this time, I'll ask the public to vacate the premises so the board can begin. You can proceed to the front.
Proceed.
Wait until everybody gets back in. I'll wait.
Okay.
Ms. Walker, the board has opted to hear your comments in open session with the limiting instruction that you are not to discuss the specific performance of employees, either by name or by rank. Now I'll ask the city attorney if he would like to supplement that advice.
I would not.
All right. Ms. Walker, you may proceed. You'll have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
Okay. Well, when I was talking about community issues, I was talking about other things happening in the community. Like here, we got a lot of bank fraud going on. Yes. We also have a lot of health care fraud going on here in this town. Yes, we do. By some government employees. And we are having illegal trials in the justice court system and the city court system, which both of those are illegal also. Should I elaborate some?
It's your 10 minutes, Ms. Walker.
Well, like you said, I can't say specific names of people or their title.
That's correct.
Okay. So, also in the electric department and the gas department, we're also having a lot of illegal things that are going on. But there's a lot of things that are going on in this city that people are pushing up under the rug and not addressing them. All for profit. Let me tell you where I live. I live in Needmore. My house has been devalued because certain people want that area. I have been discredited. I have lost my business. My family has been harassed. That's why I'm mad. And the city sat here and do nothing. You the attorney. You see things. You know things. Y'all just sit here and pretend that it's not happening. Why? Because I'm black and the people that I accuse are white. Is that the problem? Because I talked to Jason about this. Yes, we talked.
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing happened. It's been over a year. Nothing. And I don't like it. I live here, and I don't appreciate it. I don't like racism. I don't like hate. And I have never in my life been treated the way that I have by this city, county, and state just for money. And I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate people disrespecting my home. When I say get out, I mean get out. And I don't appreciate the county coming into the city doing what they want to do. And then doing what they do, and then having an illegal trial in the courthouse, using a bank employee as a judge. Starkville doesn't have a white woman judge. Now, this should have been addressed back in 2015 when I reported it. And it's continuing to just go on and on and on and on. And I want these people prosecuted that came in and devalued my house just because bank employees are allowed to buy people mortgages because they're going under. Mine was not going under. And I want those people arrested, the ones that came in and devalued my mama's house and disrespected me and my entire family. And that's why I am mad as hell. And I normally don't get mad. But when you come for me and my family, I will come for you. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. The next matter before you is the second public hearing to consider the enacting of a moratorium on billboards in the city of Starkville. Mr. Sanders, could you introduce the matter?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Alderman. Thank you. This is the second public hearing on a moratorium on billboards in the city of Starkville. I should point out that notice ran in the Starkville Daily News on January the 7th, and also a notice was placed in the lobby of City Hall. Starkville currently has 3 digital billboards, 3 double-side billboards, and 7 single billboards for a total of 13 billboards located in the city of Starkville. And these red circles represent a half-mile radius from each billboard, in which the city's sign ordinance only allows a billboard to be located at every 1/2 mile from each other in a C2 or industrial zone. Currently, staff is working towards working to revise the zoning code dealing with billboards, and I can answer any questions at this time.
Are there any questions or comments from the members of the board for Mr. Sanders? Alderman Little.
Mr. Sanders, what happens in 2021 under our current sign ordinance as far as existing billboards?
In May of 2021, all existing signs must come into compliance. So if there is a sign, and including in our sign ordinance is the billboards must come into compliance in May of 2021.
How would that impact those 3 green ones there on 12 that are close proximity?
Essentially, we only allow a billboard under our current ordinance 1 every 1/2 mile. So some of the billboards would have to come down.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move into the public comment portion of the public hearing. At this time, anyone wishing to make comments may do so by coming forward, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Alvin Turner. Sitting there, a couple of things came to mind. Will this affect churches that have signs? And what is the length of a billboard? Sometime a billboard in the sun, it will blind you, and it's not good on the driver to have a sign to where he cannot see. And that's just a couple of concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Any further comments? Any further comments? Any further comments? Seeing none, are there any concluding comments by the members of the board? Any concluding comments by the members of the board? Seeing none, that will conclude the second public hearing on a billboard moratorium. Next matter you have before you is a discussion and consideration of submitting a cap loan application to the Mississippi Development Authority for $1 million. Mr. Kemp, would you like to introduce the matter?
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Board. What we're bringing forth tonight is just an application to begin a process to secure funding for up to $1 million for funds. And Phyllis can kind of talk about that. Let me give you a little background behind this. The project is kind of broken into three areas. Two of those are specifically addressed as a part of our EPA arrangements we've talked with for the last couple of years to fulfill those requirements as to issues with overflow in our sewer system. The issue with the first one deals with about several thousand feet of either point repair or line sections that were identified through an engineering study in 2014 that really helped go throughout the entire city when we started experiencing a lot of overflow in our sewer collection system, and in trying to help identify where our priorities were. So this list right here is the top priority that were identified as those that really needed immediate or fairly quick consideration. And so what our intent was to try to do is build our plan for this next year to have a way to address these areas. Most of that, just from a location standpoint, there's a map. It kind of came back as each section was identified and ratings were given into not only the taps but actually the line sections. That's where this came from. We're continuing to do a lot of individual studies each year, but this report was based under engineering recommendations in 2014. A lot of those, I know you don't have it in front of you, but it kind of gives a breakdown. I'd say a lot of that fits into the collection system kind of to the west of town and kind of the older infrastructure that we've dealt with, and then to the north of 182 kind of in sections. And that's why it was listed in point repair and sections. So it's not huge pieces, but it was really identified in something we'd committed to do over the next 2 years as part of our system. The other one is our lift stations. The lift stations are kind of spread out primarily by need, and I'm not sure that was built a long time ago. There's about 17 lift stations in the city. Based on my records and talking with staff, Josie Creek and Trim Cane and some of that areas had been addressed about a year or two ago, but it left some real needs on the collection basis, which primarily fits to this eastern and southern section of where our area is located. This recommendation was really to address two things. One, it was a safety, and the other one was an emergency. If the system were to fail, then we have a potential for major overflow, and so what this is providing is quick connects so that we can get into the system and bring in a separate pump so that we can lift it and push it through our collection system. And the other one is to create rails on it that will actually move equipment up and down. So those are the two pieces throughout that part of our infrastructure that we were trying to address, and that makes up the other project. The third one, it was listed as a need, deals with a fire protection up in the kind of the northern eastern side around Roundhouse area. needs fire protection. We saw that was something we really wanted to try to address this year. It's kind of a priority. We've also talked with Phyllis too about, as we looked at other sewer needs, there may be some dollars that this fund could be used to match as we go into that. So we don't have a firm number, but these are clearly things that would be nice, I think, a recommendation from my standpoint, that we try to address this year or at least through summer of next year. So we're looking at maybe a year and a half time frame to get this in place, and but that's kind of the need. My intent is to try to manage this like we would do anything else. It's clearly a need for providing the service that we need for our community, but at the same time incorporate how that financial impact would affect how we do business. That is an impact on our rates. My hope would be that it would be minimal on that, and that we would manage against it. So at 20, that really is a good financing option. At least wanted to consider, and if the board was agreeable to put on the table, that we would have an option to do part or all of this as those projects actually develop. So, Vice Mayor, is that kind of what you were? That's kind of a quick summary. Is there?
Mr. Mayor, may I recognize Brooke?
You may.
Mr. Kemp, the need certainly appears to be there. Without, in your opinion, as the manager of the utility department, would this bring about an increase in rates for electric, water, and sewer for the city of Starkville?
Right now, no, sir.
At any time this year, to your knowledge, maybe not right now, but can you represent to us that for the rest of this year, there'll be no rate increase in water, sewer, and electric because of this $1 million cap loan?
Right now, what I know, and here again, rates are, you never know what might happen, but to answer your question, my intent is not to have rates to increase to pay for this if we were to use it.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Discussion.
I just have one. So was it last year that we looked for that other cap loan that was the similar kind of EPA mandate? Is that correct? Is this adding on to that, or is this?
This will be a separate one.
A separate one, but it's
and Phyllis
essentially
might
looking
give
for
a little of the logistics, because you can only apply for them once a year, and there's a maximum of $1 million. So it's really just making that available, right?
So it's a separate loan, but it's really a continuation of meeting that EPA mandate.
It's part of it? Part of that other
Okay.
part, that's
Okay,
correct.
I'll let you explain it.
And it's tied to water and sewer, which is an option that could be used for cap loan funding.
I wish I could say tonight that there's a grant for all of your infrastructure needs, but the Golden Triangle Planning and Development District serves 7 counties, 20 municipalities, and almost weekly I get a call from a governmental entity of some infrastructure need. Unfortunately, there just aren't enough grant dollars out there. The Mississippi legislature some years ago came up with the Mississippi Cap Loan Program. Only counties and municipalities are eligible to apply for this money. If your project is deemed tax exempt, you're eligible for 2% up to 20 years. If it's not deemed tax exempt, it is 3% for up to 20 years. Items that this money can be used for would be like water, sewer, some economic development projects tied to the purchase of buildings, renovation of buildings. A lot of entities use it to purchase fire trucks. So there are, while it seems broad, there are some limitations set by the law. One of the limitations is that governmental entity can only apply for $1 million. Also, we have to notify John Q. Public of the city's intent to apply. Hence, that's why you have the resolution in your packet. That resolution has to run once a week for 4 consecutive weeks, and then a public hearing is held where you discuss whether or not you're going to move forward with the project. The reason we have to notify the public is because cities pledge their sales tax, as Vice Mayor Perkins mentioned, and counties pledge their homestead exemption. Heaven forbid, if you should default, then there goes a little payment out of your sales tax rebate every month. So that's why we have to let the public know. We're coming to you now, it's a new year. We've talked about some potential grant funding opportunities. With those grants, you know, you're gonna have to just about match it dollar for dollar. We're looking at working in some of these projects into some grant funding, but we know that not everything, all of your needs will be met with a grant. So, yes, it seems like we're pushing this, but it is a little bit of a lengthy process, and we've got to get started on it. So that's why we're here tonight. Are there any questions that are specific that you have?
And let me add to that, over the long haul, the fund balance of the water and sewer fund has to improve. Now, the good news is it is improving. You would not be taking on these many loans if the fund balance of the water and sewer department was in a stronger position. That's just the reality of the situation. I think if we continue on the course that we're on now, you'll be sitting here a year to 18 months from now in a much stronger financial position with the water and sewer fund. Terry.
And I was just going to go back to the other one for his timing. You know, we talked about this in the fall of committing to EPA and have 2 years to kind of get it in place. And part of our capital project was to start addressing these. And that's why it's important, I think, for us to kind of get the financial and the engineering, everything in place so that we can meet these deadlines. Because these projects themselves will take some time.
Alderman Little.
How long do those lift stations, average life expectancy on those things?
As far as I know, they're there for a long time. What you worry about is your failure on your pumps and things like that in emergent situations when you've got heavy loads, and then you don't have any way to make an adjustment. Part of this is providing a way to quickly pull equipment out of the bottom of these units and replace them, or pull them out and then make a temporary connections with portable equipment here again that provides a little safeguard just in emergent situations so that we can continue or to avoid major problems with in our collection system.
Is it greater than 20 years?
I really don't know, Alderman. I'll find that. Generally speaking, of major infrastructure.
I didn't know if we were financing something long.
Oh, yeah, you would plan, I would plan on, like on our utility infrastructure, major investments, you're looking at least 20 years for as investment. 15 to 20 years is what you'd be looking for as a minimum. But in this case, it's basically providing capabilities that, it's not so much the equipment, but capabilities to bring in emergency equipment and also provide ways to bring equipment in and out safely out of a confined space for the employees in these cases. But these pump stations, we'll need them as long as we have a collection system just because of the terrain of the city.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Still don't have a motion pending.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve of submitting a capital application to the Mississippi Development Authority in the amount of $1 million for the purpose of water and sewer improvements, and upon completion of such identified project, any other water projects as needed and as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Alderman Carver.
I can say, this is something I think will go a long way. I support this. This is something that will address a lot of what you and I meet about and a lot of the needs that the northwest side of town, not only that, but Ward 1. So I will be supporting this, and thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderman Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very briefly, Mr. Kemp, and to the mayor and members of the board and to the public, the needs certainly appear to be here for this infrastructure improvements. The matter roundhouse, I don't know whether that's an EPA issue that I thought was taken care of when we did the sewer back stemming from 1998 annexation. As I sat here, Mr. Kemp, and listened to the presentation from you, Mr. Benson, I began to make up my mind definitively how I'm going to vote on this. And I know the need is here. I mean, we have a lot of needs in this city. We have a lot of roads, $3 million plus of roads, but we just don't have the money to get it done. We have road and drainage and other capital improvement, but we have to wait on the resource to become available. This is a very strenuous request, in my opinion, no disrespect. I'm sure the need is there. This board has been called upon to make some very enormous financial commitments during this term, including 5.58 mills in taxes. And with all due respect to you, Mr. Kemp, and you did a great job with your presentation, but at the same time, I did not get a commitment from you definitively that there will be no rate increase. Very conservatively, I do not want to vote for anything at this point. There's going to be a further tax burden. I know the needs are there, just like with roads. We got probably multi-million-dollar worth of roads, but why the board's not taking care of that, in my opinion, at this time? Because we don't have the money. Now, if we had a scaled-down version of this, instead of leaping to $1 million, like all of the requests we get now are multi-million-dollar requests, at least $1 million. So if this was scaled down a little bit, maybe $250,000, a little bit more conservative figure, but this is too big of a leap for me, and I'm not speaking against the need, but I'm not comfortable with the fact that there will not be a rate increase at some point tagged on with this. And as I said earlier, the citizens are just burdened enough. Now, if we can get something with a more conservative 200,000, 250,000, and EPA's been working with us, but for this to come out here on the 17th of January of 2017, asking us for $1 million, I think that's a bit much. And I'm saying all this so the record could be clear. Now, we need some infrastructure improvement. All these places need it. Don't get me wrong. Everything on that list, I looked at every ward, every place, every part, every station, all that you're trying to do. But, sometimes there are things that I want to do for myself and our family and our business, but I have to realize I have to look at the resources and maybe just have to prioritize and budget that based upon fund availability. I think this too big of a leap at one time, because I think if this was a crisis situation, we would have been informed of this before. Now I think we just like we do at our street program, we don't try to go in and try to fix $2 and $3 million worth of street continuously. But with all that being said, I'm going to respectfully vote against it. You're doing a good job, your leadership, but for these things, the only reason I'm voting against, but it's nothing personal or negative. You're doing a good job, but I'm just not satisfied and confident in my mind as to whether or not there'll be a increase, and this is too much of a large-scale ask, in my opinion, at this one time. Mr. Mayor, I yield the floor.
Any further discussion? Alderman Wynn.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kemp, thank you for bringing this forward, and by all means, I certainly hope it passed. There's always a need for monies for our ward toward infrastructure, what have you. When we first got on the first term of this board, back in 2013, a lot of money was spent in Ward 6 to the tune of about $750,000, plus overruns, plus legal fees in that project. So that has definitely taken a lot of money away from the other wards. So here we are with this tonight. This is a measure that I'm going to support. I yield the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, may I recognize?
Yeah, ma'am.
Just very briefly to close this, my closing statement is, wards 1 through 7, I think the record needs to be clear for those who are joining us via TV, Twitter, satellite, social media, in whatever manner, form, or fashion. All wards have benefit from city funds. Ward 3 has gotten at least $750,000 on Banyan Road, and I have no problem with that. I support Ward 1. I'm gonna support Ward 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it's no problem, and I'm gonna support 2 in all wards. But and of course, the last cap loan went to Ward 3. I'm not picking out the gentleman, and I'm glad he's getting it done. It needs that. It needs that. We spent $750,000 at least on Banyan Road, the last cap loan that we had. So Ward 6 is not the only ward in this city that's benefiting from funds. So this is just more or less a business decision, and we're not going to get personal at this table tonight and at any night, because before we do that, I'm going to invoke the rule on that. So, but I just want to say all wards benefit from city funds, and it's good to help the wards. And I have nothing against any ward. I want the wards to continue to do. The gentleman, everybody should seek for the awards. I'm glad the gentleman got that. He needed that down his ward. All of us benefit from city funds, and we all need to try to get that done. But the only thing I'm saying, Mr. Kemp, in the last word here, and I'm done. I mean, but you know, again, that's the only reason. And we spend legal fees on the whole city. I mean, it's always legal fees spent on the city as a whole. We don't have a lawyer just for Ward 6. The lawyer represents the whole city, and we need to understand that. You know, we need to understand that when I speak, it's not about personal decisions. It's about the best interest of the city of Starkville. I'm best to speak for myself. You know, our attorney represents the city. We're going to continue to do the thing together. We're going to continue to do the things of the family. But we have diverse background, diverse experiences, and diverse views. So, you know, I'm not speaking against anybody. I'm going to support my colleagues based upon the availability of funds, and they have a right to ask. So let's just remember, and I'm not going to single anybody out, and nobody needs to be singled out. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, I call for the question and ready for the vote.
Motion has been made to close debate. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. It's unanimous. We'll now move into a vote on the motion to approve the application for $1 million cap loan. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 5 in favor with 1 against, motion passes. Thank you. The next matter on the agenda is an update by Chief R. Frank Nichols on the renovations of the Starkville Police Department.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Chief, we're ready when you are, sir. Yes, sir.
Greetings,
Chief, go ahead.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir.
In the absence of the mayor, Lady from 2, Alderwoman Nguyen, and gentlemen of this board. I'm happy to report that since my last report, we are still making progress with the police department. Everything is still on schedule with the move-in date of May of this year. We did have a meeting today with the contractor, and they're saying the same thing. You know, they said there's a lot of progress that has taken place and that we're still on schedule and everything's looking good. So since the last time I reported to you, we're now 54% complete with the project. Progress since the last time is gotten plumbing done, electrical work done, roof replacement in progress. It did run into one little small problem with the roof. The front part of the roof was redone, don't know when, with solid metal. Solid metal. So they're having to go in there and cut that out with a torch. So I'll be bringing that to you for change order on the next board meeting. Also, insulation in cold form and non-structural framing in progress. They're working on the east side entry underway, and also you'll see from the pictures, the elevator is pretty much done. So if you walk into the front door, that's the view you get now. You can directly look in all the way back to the back of the police department, which is a stage area. That's your view. To the left, what you're looking at is going to be the community room, and to the right is going to be records and dispatch. They did say that they had put the bullet resistant glass in there, So that's where, over there to the right, what you're looking at there for protection for the ladies that be working there. They did have to go back and restructure the roof lining all the way across the front of it because for whatever reason, don't know when, years ago, somebody took the load-bearing wall out. And the only reason that it hadn't collapsed, which was the old building department, onto the city clerk's office, is because of that roof that was metal. It was holding it up. Didn't know. So they had to go back in there and fix all that and put the some load-bearing walls up, or joints up there, and they all metal. That's from the second floor. Looking down, again, you're looking from the front to the back. And you can start seeing now the framing of some of the office spaces and whatnot. Over to your left, right there, you have the elevator shaft. But it's tall now, so you're seeing it in a couple more pictures. If you look to the very back left, you'll see those bricks. That's what's going to be the holding cells or processing room for the prisoners. So that's fortified with bricks. That's where the stairways used to be. When you walk into the front doors, to the right, remember the stairways that went up? They're no longer there. So there's no way to get to the second floor right now. They're starting to fix that. They said they would have that fixed by the end of the week. They'll start fixing that frame in the second floor, but that's where those stairs used to be right there. Again, that's the community room to your left. When you walk into the door, that's looking to the left where the community room will be. And as you can see, all the framing, all this is steel. So this is going to be a solid building. Keep going. That's on the outside, on the west side of the building, on the east side of the building, where they're constructing the stairways there. Mm-hmm. Okay, trying to get oriented here. What are we looking at right here, lovely lady?
You're facing, you can see the elevator shaft where that gentleman is up there. You're standing on the stage, you have to step a little bit.
That's right. You're right there where the stairs used to be at, where the mayor's office at. That's where you're looking from right there on that picture, and you're looking forward to the front of the police department, which is south. To the right there, I showed you the picture, the first picture of the elevator shaft. You see how it was about that tall, about 3 or 4 feet tall. Look at it now. You know, that picture was taken, what, today, lovely lady?
This was, yes, sir.
Yesterday? Yeah. So they're pretty much done with that. Keep going. Just some more masonry work, and that's going to be the booking area right there, right, lovely lady, where those bricks are. That's what we're looking at. If you're looking at from the door, you're looking to the left. That's what we're looking at there. That's just the very rear of the building. If you're looking, we had those 2 bays back there where we kept cars and everything. That's just showing the very back of the building where they're progressing with that as well. That's it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I have to report on at this time and what they got going on. In the next month, they're going to install the fire protection system, install the spray insulation around the exterior wall, HVAC ductwork for the first floor, continue with the structural framing and the trade ceilings. They're going to start doing that in the lobby and community room. They're going to start, again, the second floor, because there's no second floor now. There's nothing up there. And begin installation of the wall board. At this time, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Questions or comments for the chief? Alderman Nguyen.
Thank you so much, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say thanks so much and to your department. And I want to thank Corporal Lovelady. I have asked you, Fire Chief and Director Mr. Peters, for some images that reflect community involvement. Last week when we were in Jackson, President Veazey The president of Mississippi Municipal League asked us to tender some pictures to Mississippi Municipal League that reflect community involvement from our municipalities. So thank you so much for those pictures in advance.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Corporal. I yield the floor.
Any further questions or comments by the members of the board? Any further questions or comments? Any further questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
The next matter before you is discussion and consideration of 6-month moratorium on billboards. Alderman Little.
Mayor, I move to accept an ordinance of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, amending the Starkville sign ordinance to include a temporary moratorium on billboards within the municipal boundaries. And it was published in the...
Motion has been reduced to writing. It was published in your packet. It's been read, and I'm placing the copy that was presented with the city clerk. Without objection, I will not ask for it to be reread. Seeing none, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Alderman Carver.
I was going to say that I previously didn't support getting to the public hearing, but I think that, and through my conversations with JT and Lamar Advertising, he's kind of explaining the business to me. I think personally, I think the sign out there was in a poor place, in a poor position. I think this was an attempt to maybe go back and look at our sign ordinance. I think our sign ordinance, by having a half-mile linear distance between billboards is a pretty good ordinance as it pertains to billboards. But I will be supporting this tonight. I think that in conversations with Lamar that they'll do whatever it takes. They're here for the long haul. They'll do what's right for the community. But again, I think that billboard placed out, which is the one we're talking about, is across from the Hilton. I think it was probably not the greatest choice of just location. I think it could have been placed in another place, and that probably brought this about. So I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a discussion and consideration of PP 16-21. Discussion. Discussion. Would you like to hear from Mr. Sanders, or would you like to move directly into discussion? All right, Mr. Sanders.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Alderman, you have before you a request on behalf of Mike Brent on behalf of Richard Hewlett for a preliminary plat approval of a 2-lot subdivision, subdivision of 11.13 acres in a C1 zone, not too far south of the intersection of 182 and Stark Road. The proposed lots Lot 1 would have an acreage of 1.51 acres, and Lot 2, the remaining property, would be 9.62 acres. On January the 10th of 2017, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the preliminary plat by a vote of 4-0. The Planning and Zoning Commission is recommending 5 conditions. 1, any sidewalk not completed by the time of final plat consideration by the Board of Alderman shall be required to have a form of surety in the place of amount of 150% of the estimated cost of construction. Condition number 2, the City of Starkville Standard Performance Guarantee Agreement must be executed by the applicant owner and authorization for the mayor to execute on behalf of the city. A letter from the applicant to the city engineer indicating their intent to mitigate the stormwater requirements on a lot-by-lot basis, and that the owner will communicate to all future lot owners that the mitigation of excess stormwater will be their responsibility and will be required regardless of lot size. Condition number 4, the applicant shall provide 2 paper copies of the recorded plat to the city along with a digital copy in AutoCAD format and standard state playing coordinates. Condition number 5 and the final condition. The applicant shall provide as-built drawings of all infrastructure improvements, water, sewer, storm drainage, roadways, sidewalks, etc., in AutoCAD format, as well as a paper copy that is signed and sealed by a licensed design professional guaranteeing accuracy. I'll be glad to answer any questions that the board may have.
My purpose was just to see the, to make sure those additional conditions were included, so I'll move approval, Mayor.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of PP 16-21 as presented and with the 5 conditions recommended by staff and P&Z. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is discussion and consideration of advertising for public hearings to be held to consider design requirements for retaining walls.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Walker to approve of advertising for public hearings to be held to consider design requirements for retaining walls. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, other than to say, I think it's certainly worth having a discussion to see how this would complement the facade ordinance for a building. Essentially, you are creating a facade with a retaining wall, and I think it's definitely worthy of having that discussion.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda.
moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to declare the 2001 Dodge Ram 1B7HC 13Y91J568776 as surplus with authorization to advertise on Gov Deals and remove from the city's inventory, and authorization to utilize auction proceeds to purchase a Ford F-150 off of state contract with additional funds coming from account 001-301-918-805 as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a discussion and consideration to add portions of Daniels Drive.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman, was it Little or Carver? Alderman Little to approve of adding portions of Daniels Drive and streets in Highland Estates to the 2017 improvement list to provide base repairs, leveling, and overlay in certain locations at a cost not to exceed $8,000, with the funding for this project to come from Ward 2 discretionary funds as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda,
So moved.
motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of authorizing the advertisement for bids for 2017 street overlay and striping project as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for authorization to install.
So moved.
Motion has been made. A motion has been made by Alderman Nguyen to install multi-use striping on Linden Circle between Lewiston Street and Chestnut Street to assist with traffic calming and to provide a safer non-vehicular transportation route at a cost not to exceed $12,100 as presented. Alderman Nguyen, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Nguyen, do you wish to speak on
No,
the
I do
merits?
not.
Any discussion? Any discussion?
I
Alderman
have a
Little.
question for Mr. Kemp. I'm supportive of this. I just had a question. With the roads in the city, and most of them are pretty wide, I can see it as being a safety feature, having the bike lane or pedestrian lanes on each side. And I understand it has a traffic calming effect, from what you've told me. Is that correct?
Yeah, currently that roadway is about 30 to 32 feet wide total. If you divide that in two, you're looking at two 16-foot lanes. I mean, that's wider than an interstate lane is. So probably not appropriate for a residential type situation. So a lot of the modern thinking is to go along with what they call road diets. Essentially, you're trying to slim down the roadways and provide alternative uses on some of that extra pavement. And in this case, we're reducing the travel lanes down to 10.5 feet and leaves a little over 5 to 5.5 feet for either a bike lane or a pedestrian lane. In this situation on Linden Circle, there are no sidewalks, and it is one of the main routes going in and out of that neighborhood. It connects to the Louisville Street sidewalk. We've done this in other places around town. We did it on Hospital Road. We did it on Whitfield Street. It was one of the earlier ones. We've done it on parts of Greensboro Street.
Do you have any data or anything that shows that they've impacted it from a speed?
We've not ever collected before and after speed data, but
Is that something we might
I
look
think,
into to
yeah,
back it?
I would have to consult with the chief, maybe get a radar, and I've seen a lot of studies on this. Is what they do is they collect, you know, you could do it over a course of a couple days, different times a day, because you have different drivers, of course. And what you do is you take the 85th percentile speed, that's kind of the average, and you compare the 85th percentile speed before and after. And almost always in these road diet exercises, it's a reduction.
I'd like to see that data if we could get some, because I've got some streets in my ward that I might
Yeah.
like to implement something like this going forward. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask him a
We
question?
got Walker and then Perkins.
I was going to say that I certainly support us gathering that local data, but there is stacks and stacks of data that led to us adopting that NACTOS guide, and that's all based on that same type of thinking that shows that it is effective. But I think it certainly wouldn't hurt to find a way to be able to prove to prove it in Starkville that these things clearly do work.
Alderman Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I likewise support the request for Alderman 2's request. Mr. Kemp, the only reason I asked for recognition, you mentioned Hospital Road, and just to reflect back up and refresh your memory on that, of course, that road was 40 feet wide, and,
Right.
and those travel lanes going to be about a 1.5 feet wider. Both those travel lanes over there are 12 feet wide, and we have the bike lanes and walking lanes that's 8 feet on each side, so 8 and 8, 16, 24. This, yeah. So I just want to make sure that wasn't an equal comparison.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. But I support that. I just want to make sure we have correct information.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Vice Mayor, I was only referencing that as another example. And
Very good.
We also did on Hawassee, as you well know.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for
So moved.
authorization. Alderman Carver, was that a motion?
Yes.
Alderman Carver's made a motion to add a portion of Louisville Street to the 2017 street improvement list and to provide base repairs, leveling, and overlay beginning at the intersection of Industrial Park Road and extending southerly direction, and utilize all remaining Ward 2 discretionary funds on this roadway as presented. Alderman Carver, said your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of the City of Starkville claims docket for all departments, including the Starkville Utilities Department as of January 11, 2017, for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2017, as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. Little, I didn't get an up or down for you. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 5 in favor with 1 against, motion passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for authorization to advertise to fill the vacant position of building inspection. I'm sorry. A request for approval of the 2016 financial statements as presented.
Move approval.
Motion's been made by Alderman Little to approve of the December 2016 financial statement as. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Next matter before you is request for approval to accept the lowest bid received for source supply listing.
Move approval.
Motion's been made by Alderman Little to accept the lowest and best bid received for the source supply listing as advertised and as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for permission to allow Starkville Fire Department to apply for a 3-year FEMA SAFER grant. Let me offer a note on this one prior to discussion. The budget chair could not be here tonight. He did ask me to pass along the note that the 25% match is not budgeted. And also, of course, this is a grant that requires a commitment for the city to continue to fund positions that get funded by the grant after the grant has expired. So that would obligate the next board in the event that we receive the grant. He asked for a note that the grant would not be accepted until a new board takes office. And I think that's a reasonable request. Chief, would that fit the timeline of the grant?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mayor Board. With the grant, to be honest, it probably would take, if we did receive the grant, it would probably take June or July before we even receive the grant. Once we receive the grant, if we got it, it'd be 180 days after that, before we have to actually put it in play. So we still would have some time, but I mean, I understand when you come to 25% match, but it would be in the next budget before we have to do something.
So it would not limit you from pursuing the grant opportunity if the board placed a limitation on their order that any grant agreement would be approved in the next term?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Alderman Carver.
So is this for the hiring, like from the physical fitness standpoint, with a 25% match, or is this for evermore their salaries are covered and paid for? Or is this just the first year, or?
Just 3 years.
That's the 3 years, but after that, the city would pick up 100%.
Right. And it just changed, this SAFER grant, last year was no match. This year, the grant is pretty much going away. Probably in the next 5 years it'll be gone, so now it's a 25% match. So.
And on the numbers out there, where are we at in the full staffing? Is this fully staffing the fire department? And I thought it was 2 more after this, or is this?
No, this is completely different. Right now, we're 5 people short at the department. So once we get this grant, if we can go back, once we hire 5 people that we short anyway, that's already budgeted. If we get this will actually fill Station 5, so we'll be full capacity.
Are you running operationally there every day, or is it every third day? Or?
Right now, it hadn't been opened up in about 2 weeks. So about 2 weeks short. So, and when we do it, it's pretty much every third day.
Discussion.
I think move approval with the note condition added that it would not be, the grant could not be accepted until the upcoming new term.
Motion has been made by Alderman Walker to allow the Starkville Fire Department to apply for a 3-year FEMA SAFER grant, which would be used to hire 6 firefighters to occupy Fire Station 5, which requires a 25% match from the city, and such grant should not be accepted fully by the city until after July 1st, 2017. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Thank you, Chief. The next matter on the agenda is request for, did I hear a motion? Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve the advertisement to fill the vacant position of building inspector in the Community Development Department and authorize the advertisement of the position on the International Code Council website as presented. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Or Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for authorization to
So moved.
advertise to fill the vacant. Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize the advertisement to fill the existing vacant position of 5 firefighters in the Starkville Fire Department as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda.
moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize the adoption of the job description for an equipment operator 1 position and authorize to advertise to fill the 2 vacant positions of an equipment operator 1 in the Starkville Street Department as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for authorization to hire Preston Trent Helms as the
So
direct.
moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve the hire of Preston Trent Helms as the Director of Maintenance in the Starkville Park and Recreation Department and allow Mr. Helms to continue his certifications as firefighter as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
As far as him keeping the certifications, that's just in case he never needs to go back and fill in as a fireman on an emergency or CPR at the Portsplex, or what's the point of him keeping these certifications?
He took him so long to get the certification, I hate for him to lose him. So that's why we tried to come up with something. I talked with Herman about working something out. Pretty much what he'll be doing. But on the off chance we had something after 5 o'clock and we needed him, he would come in and help out. That way keep the certifications up.
Don't,
Go ahead.
as far as keeping those certifications, does it require him to be any part of a volunteer fire district or anything?
He could be a part of the volunteer fire department, but the easiest way would be him just letting him just say he's still with the city. I mean, so
And these certifications, we'll be doing these during city hours or something after nights and
After hours.
weekends and, okay.
It'd be one time during the year, which would be 4 hours. He would have to go to an EMT refresher course. And I spoke with him today. He knows he would have to take off to come over and do that. So
Is his transfer part of these 5 firemen that we just approved in this previous, or will we have to re-advertise for his position?
hopefully we can just get another one to have, add 6, but right, it'd be 6 now if he
Thank you.
accepts.
I think he touched on what I was going to clarify with you. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a request for authorization to re-advertise to fill the position of Director of Recreation and Sports in the Parks and Recreation Department and to advertise the position on the National Recreation and Park Association website for 30 days.
Move approve, Mr. Mayor.
Motion has been made by Alderman Perkins to authorize the re-advertisement to fill the position of Director of Recreation and Sports in the Park and Recreation Department and to advertise the position on the National Recreation and Park Association website for 30 days as presented. Alderman Perkins, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Perkins, do you speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Alderman Carver.
As it pertains to the specific duties of a city employee, I'd like to go into closed session to determine the need for executive session.
All right, motion has been made by Alderman Carver to go into closed session to determine whether there's a need for an executive session.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Mayor, will that motion take precedent over the pending motion? If so, what relevancy will that have to the request to re-advertise?
A motion to go into closed session can be made at any time, and if it is approved by a majority of the board, then we'll go immediately into closed session.
Well, let me continue with my having the floor. The request is made to re-advertise the position of Director of Recreation and Sports in the Parks and Recreation Department and to advertise the position on the National Recreation Park Association website for 30 days. I'm not aware of anything, and we can discuss that when we get in a closed session. I'm not aware of anything that would preclude our from approving this recommendation. I'm sure from the the Director of Park and Recreation and from the Human Resources Department. So I just don't envision what we can be discussing when we'll get there, when we get there, that we're going to be tied into job performance, just a mere request to advertise. And hopefully this is not a means trying to control the process, but we'll get there. You know, this should play out like it play out. We should move to advertise. Hopefully we're not trying to micromanage anything, and hopefully we're not trying to dictate as to who should be hired for a position. And if that's the case, we'll discuss in the executive session. But we need to make the motion, which has been made, and second from the lady from 2. We need to approve this motion. I'm feeling where this is headed, but and hopefully there's no attempt to micromanage the operation of this department. And if so, that's outside our scope of authority. And the Human Resources Director has also joined this recommendation. And so I'm just rather curious to see what's the specific job performance, but we'll get there shortly. So if the motion, I'm going to vote against the motion to go into executive session, Mr. Mayor, but I'm yielding the floor at this time.
Any further discussion on the motion to go into closed session to determine whether there is a need for an executive session? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying, or please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 2 in favor of 4 against, motion fails. And we are still in discussion on the main motion, which is to approve the re-advertisement of the position. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All right. All those opposed, it is unanimous. The next matter on the agenda is hold on, let me get to my place on the agenda. Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize the adoption of the job description for a foreman position and request authorization to advertise to fill the vacant position of a foreman in the street department as presented. Alderman Carver, such a motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is motion has been made by Alderman Carver to request permission to accept the Greenville Fitness to conduct the police department yearly fitness exam at a cost not to exceed $18,000. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of an agreement between the Board of Supervisors of Oktibbeha County, Mississippi, and the Mayor and Board of Alderman of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, establishing a joint cooperative task force to enforce the controlled substances laws of the state of Mississippi within Starkville and Oktibbeha County as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Alderman Walker.
Chief, just a question. Is this, has there not been something similar before with the county that we've had some type of joint agreement, or is this totally brand new?
Yes, sir. We used to have what we call tri-county narcotics.
Right.
And we had the different agencies from the surrounding counties, Clay, Lowndes, Oktibbeha, Webster. This one is not inclusive of the surrounding counties, just this county. So I'll supply 2 of my personnel for this task force, and right now the county's going to supply 1. And the reasons that I wanted to, main reason why I wanted to start this was because most of the cases that my guys have, they end up evolving out into the county. So at the present time, there's nobody in the county working anything to do with drugs. And of course, a lot of the cases that we work, whether they're drug related or not, end up being drug related because a lot of people are breaking into houses to get the drugs. So I spoke with the sheriff about several months ago about starting this, and he was for the idea. And I also spoke with the chief of Mississippi State about it, and I don't think they was in favor of it. But that's how we got to this place. And I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? 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 Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for permission.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Alderman Carter to approve of Starkville Utilities advertising for bids to construct a one-lane bridge to Shrimp King Pump Station at Alderman Carter, says the motion.
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carter, you wish to speak on this?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carter to approve of Starkville Utilities, moving forward with a quote. Motion has been made to approve a quote and move forward with repair of Fairbanks Morse 118.5 horsepower fuel pump by Electric Motor Sales and Service Incorporated, the sole source of supplier, at a cost of $16,984 as presented. Alderman Carter, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carter, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of Terry Camp traveling to BBPPA, 7 states, board and committee meetings during calendar year 2017 as presented. Alderman
Yes,
Carver,
it
is that your
is.
motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval.
Say move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of Terry Kemp attending the American Public Power Association CEO Roundtable in Phoenix, Arizona, February 12th through 14th, 2017, at a cost not to exceed $2,900 as presented. Alderman Carver, take the motion.
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Alderman Burke.
Mr. Attorney, do we have anything for a closed session?
Now, our employment matter was.
That's all I was asking. Okay, that's all I was asking. Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
You may.
Mr. Mayor, I move that this board stand adjourned until the 7th day of February 2017 at 5:30 in this boardroom.
Motion has been made by Alderman Perkins to adjourn until February 7th, 2017, and at 5:30 in the courtroom at 110 West Main Street. Alderman Perkins, has the motion.
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second? Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Burke, do you speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please
Hey,
signify by
Chief.
saying nay.
Chief,
Stand
can I see
adjourned.
your name?